All right, in today's video, I'm going to walk you through click-through rate. I'm going to go over what it is, why it's important to have a high click-through rate, what does a good click-through rate look like, and how to improve it. So to start it off, click-through rate is essentially the amount of people who see your ad versus the amount of people who actually click on it. So say you have 5 people click on your ad and 100 people saw it, you have a 5% click-through rate. It's pretty simple to understand. Um, One important thing to note for click-through rate in Google Ads is that essentially every part of your ad, whether it's the keyword, whether it's the listing, whether it's the actual ad, they have their own click-through rate. So everything can be seen at a very microscopic level, and you can adjust and optimize the winners and get rid of the losers. So it's very, very important to go through, read these click-through rates, find out what is working, what's not. Maybe your ad extensions are, really doing well, but your actual ad itself isn't doing great. So really you need to focus on that ad, switch it up. Maybe certain keywords are working well. You should go with them, make their own ad groups, expand, and maybe some aren't. You should get rid of those or try and optimize them somehow. That being said, the benefits of having a high click-through rate, I think this is one of the most overlooked things inside Google Ads because click-through rate really affects everything. If you have a poor click-through rate, your ads aren't going to get shown. And if your ads aren't shown, you're not going to get clicks, or you're going to get clicks, but they're going to be very expensive because click-through rate affects quality score, and quality score affects a lot of things. And if you have a good quality score, and I'm not saying click-through rate is the only factor when it comes to quality score. Yes, landing pages play a factor, and there's other elements of Google's algorithm that you have to take into account. But click-through rates are a massive factor in determining quality score. And if you have a good quality score, that can lower the cost per click. You can get, a lower cost per lead from that. More leads inside your campaign usually translates to more success. It's also important to note if you have a high click-through rate, chances are you're going to have a high ad rank. So you're showing above your competition in Google Ads, which makes it more likely that you're seen first, more likely to be clicked on. And it also is more likely to show, or Google is more likely to show your extensions, which means your ad's going to be bigger, which again means it's more likely to be clicked on, which essentially is a snowball effect. You generally have a higher click-through rate if your ad is bigger. It leads to a lower cost per click because you have a higher quality score, leads to more leads inside your campaign because you don't have to pay as much per click, and that leads to more success in the campaign. So it is very, very important to have a high click-through rate, and you always want to be trying to aim higher and get a better click-through rate through your account. So what is a good click-through rate? What should you aim for? And I always say aim higher because that's generally what you want to do. And on average inside our accounts, we're happy with a 5 to 10% click-through rate. If it's any lower than that, there's a serious issue. We got to figure it out. But 5 to 10% we're cool with, we're good with. But we always want to push it higher. Keep going, keep going. But generally, you hit diminishing returns once you hit 9 to 10%. And it is much more difficult to supersede those limits once you do hit that very high amount. But that being said, there is different click-through rates for every industry. Some people in certain industries are just more likely to click on an ad. So there's a good graph here. I don't know how accurate this is. I'm assuming WordStream did their homework on this, but it's a average click-through rate of Google AdWords industry benchmarks, and it essentially goes over the average click-through rate through each industry. And as you can see, they really range quite heavily here. As you can see, I believe that's education. Education is 2.09 click-through rate. So that for us would be very low, 2%. But as you can see here, and I believe that's the health, dating and personal, that's 6%. So it really depends on the industry you're in. You can't really give a general overall click-through rate of this is the best click-through rate and you should aim for it. Always try to aim higher. Even if your click-through rate is, 2 or 3%, always try to bump it up. Maybe 2% for your industry is really good. I don't know. It's different for everyone, and you have to take that into account with your individual ad group and ad campaign. So how do we improve our click-through rate so we get a higher quality score, so our ads show, so our extensions show, and everything on our account is good and we have tremendous success? Well, the first and foremost thing to do is A/B test. I know this gets said a lot, but A/B test is the most important thing you can do inside Google Ads for success. It takes time. Most of your ads you will, create will be losers. You're not going to have many winners, and it's a grind. There's no other way to put it. It's a grind. Most people don't like to do it. That's why their accounts aren't good. because they're not willing to take the time to do the A/B testing. But if you take the time to do the A/B testing, even if you're terrible at writing ads, chances are you will have a good ad at some point in your account. Just because you've tried so many things, and Google's going to like one of them, and your customer base will like one of them, and it'll, take off, and you'll do really well. So always A/B test every single thing. Test your keywords, test your ad copy, test your extensions, test your descriptions, test everything, and then try and improve on a micro basis, even if it's 0.1%. Just every week, try to get better. So that's the first thing on how to improve it. The second thing is in the actual ad copy, think from your customer's perspective and how you can solve their problem. Don't think about why you're so great. Don't put, we've been in business for 30 years, we're the best company ever, blah, blah, blah. No one cares. What is your customer's problem? And this really comes down to your keyword and what you're targeting. So if you're targeting furnace repair, maybe your headline could be, do you have a broken furnace? We have techs on standby. We can fix your problem. Stuff like this that really resonates. Don't put best HVAC company ever. Make sure it really resonates with your customer. Make sure it really speaks to them and go, and almost as if you're reading their mind, they go, that guy knows exactly what my problem is and he can help me. That's what you want the customer to think when they see your ad. Go, okay, he knows exactly what I'm thinking. He's dealt with this problem tons of times before, and I can trust this guy. That's what you want out of the customer's mind. You don't want general HVAC company. Click here for, a tech. That doesn't speak to them. That doesn't really resonate with the problem. Another thing is differentiate yourself from the competition. So you can type in Google Ads or you can type in Google search bar for keywords you're searching for, and just look at what your competition's doing. Most of the time when I look through competition, I go, oh my God, these guys don't know what they're doing. And it just breeds confidence because you're like, oh, day one, our ads are going to be performing much better than theirs. We're going to have a high click-through rate, and we're going to be doing fantastic. Just because most companies don't take the time to, one, build out ad groups and build out, dedicated ads to those ad groups. So they're going to have just a whole bunch of keywords in one ad group, and they're only going to be able to write really basic ads. And when you can write ads that really speak to the customer on each single keyword you put in, they're going to be much more likely to click on your ad because it speaks to them instead of just like a basic HVAC company ad. Like, no one really wants that. They want individual specific problems solved by companies who know what they're doing. They don't want just general HVAC or, a general companies helping their problem. Like I said before, don't boast about yourself. Don't talk about how great your company is. Talk about how you can solve the customer's problem. So I see so many times when looking through competitions ads that it's just, we're the best HVAC company, 30 years in business. Or like it's just so simplistic. They didn't put much thought into it. They don't really care about their customer. Think about the customer. If you can do that, chances are you'll have a good ad. Another thing I see is keep it simple unless they're industry terms. And even then, like I really tend to stay away from complicated words or acronyms just because not everyone knows what they mean. And this isn't to call your consumer base stupid, but some people just don't know what those words mean. And there's a good story of David Ogilvy, and one of the people he hired to write copy for him wanted to use a really complicated word, and he was building an ad for dairy farmers. And David Ogilvy said, "Do you really want to use that word?" And he's like, "Oh yeah, it's fantastic. It really resonates with them." And he said, "Okay, well, if it resonates so much with them, go spend 2 weeks on the farm, on a dairy farm with them. And after the 2 weeks, if you're still set on using that word in your ad copy, go ahead, use it." And the guy said, "No problem, I'll go spend 2 weeks on a dairy farm." He went and spent 2 weeks on a dairy farm, came back, looked at David Ogilvy and said, "I'm not using the word." Just because he figured out how those people actually speak. They don't speak in very complicated languages. And especially when people are buying stuff, even with people who are buying high-end sports cars, they don't want super complicated language. And the highest language that people who are in the advertising industry, what they've learned is even people who are high-end doctors, people who are buying high-end sports cars, they use a grade 8 level language when buying things. So don't make this overcomplicated. Don't use extravagant words. Keep it simple and don't confuse your customer. The next thing is message match, and this is really between the keyword and ad. You could say the landing page also should fit in here, and I normally include it in message match, but right now we're just going to focus on the keyword and the ad. Essentially, you want the message between the keyword and the ad So the actual word people are typing in and the ad that pops up to be as closely linked as possible and as relevant as possible. So when people type in furnace repair, they get an ad that says, looking for furnace repair or something very similar to that that really speaks to them. The more targeted you can make this, the more likely they are to click on the ad, the more likely they are to convert into a customer at the end of the day. So it's very important to do this. A lot of companies, they'll just build one ad group with one ad in it, put a whole bunch of keywords in this, and there's no way to really target the keyword because they're all in one ad group. So it's very important to build out an extensive list of ad groups, an extensive list of ads, and in each ad group have very closely targeted keywords that are all right around the same thing so your ads can be as targeted as possible. That allows you to differentiate yourself from the competition and really boost click-through rate and have a successful campaign overall. So that essentially sums up click-through rate, why it's important, why you should always aim for a higher click-through rate, the ways to go about doing that, and really the benefits of having a high click-through rate. If you have any comments, questions, or concerns, leave them down in the description down below or the comment section down below. Other than that, you guys have a wonderful day and take care.